there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxham. Discussion? There's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero.
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Okay, we're at public comment.
Mayor, I have one public comment that was emailed to me. It's from Hannah Boudreau. It says, "I'm speaking tonight to emphatically urge you to help allocate more police officers to be present on nights the Forest Park Tap Room holds events or expects to be busy. As we all know, this business has been the source of countless problems for our village, its residents and its businesses. This past Saturday was a traumatic return to the flagrantly disrespectful and irresponsible behavior of the tap room and their patrons. The tap room continues to have a profoundly negative effect on the lives of people living nearby in appalling ways. This past Saturday evening, upon closing, we witnessed property damage, physical violence and threats, public urination, offensive and violent language, excessive noise, public intoxication, illegal drinking, open bottles, car radio noise, speeding, continued tailgating in our parking lots and on our streets just outside of residents' windows late into the night, and finally, a bloody fight resulting in more 911 calls and injuries. The strain this establishment continues to put on our residents and on our law enforcement resources not sustainable. The mayor and this council bears the responsibility of keeping our village a safe and welcoming place. This cannot and will not happen if this business is allowed to continue operating in this manner. Thank you for your time. I look forward to a resolution."
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, there are no formal communications. There are no department reports. Bills by resolution.
Be it resolved by the council of the Village of Forest Park, Cook County, Illinois, that we dispense with the reading of the individual bills inasmuch as each department head has approved and signed bills in the following aggregate amount for the respective departments. Public Affairs, $79,307.44. Police Department, $5,360.27. Community Center, $125. Accounts and Finance Clerk's Office, $257,835.86. Accounts and Finance Fire Department, $2,727.20. Department of Health and Safety, $5,071.19. Street Department, $92,167.20. Public Property, $62,275.09. Seizure, $1,362.83. Federal Customs, $5,381.27. TIF, $1,003,459.25. VIP, $38.01. Water Department, $13,330.03. For a total of $1,528,440.64.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, is there a motion to adopt the resolution on the bills?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll
Nero
second.
second.
I think I heard Commissioner Nero first. Second. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R-11-22.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, there is no unfinished business, so moving to new business. The first item is a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the Park District of Forest Park and the Village of Forest Park to provide for the collection and expenditure of donations for the fireworks display during the park's 2022 July 4th Festival. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxim. Is there a second?
Nero second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? There's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R-12-22.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, the next item is the adoption of a resolution for the maintenance under the Illinois Highway Code motor fuel tax resolution for general maintenance cost. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
Nero make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Nero. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I think I heard Commissioner Vogt. Discussion? There's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R-13-22.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, the next item is a resolution authorizing the waiver of the hiring freeze for IMRF employees regarding the hiring of a full-time utility billing clerk. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxam. Discussion? If there's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R-14-22.
Okay. Commissioners, the next item is a resolution authorizing preliminary and final approval of a plat of re-subdivision entitled CEJ re-subdivision. And this is for 7201 West Madison. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxam. Is there a second?
Yes, I was second.
We're both reading glasses tonight. Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Maxim and seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? There's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R-15-22.
Okay, Commissioners, under item E is a resolution authorizing preliminary and final approval of a plat consolidation entitled Forest Park River Forest Land LLC consolidation. This is for 7652 West Madison. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxam. Is there a second?
Sure, Nero will second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? No discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R-16-22.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, the next item is a resolution approving the execution of side letter agreements to the village's current collective bargaining agreements. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been seconded by Commissioner Maxam. Discussion? There's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is Resolution R-17-22.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, the next item is a motion approving a raffle application submitted by the American Legion at 500 Circle for an event to be held on March 4. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
Sure, Nero will second.
Then seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? There's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Commissioners, the next item is an ordinance waiving bid requirement and authorizing acceptance of a proposal for sound and lighting equipment between Soundworks Productions Incorporated and the Village of Forest Park. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Vogt. Discussion? There's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is ordinance O-07-22.
Okay, Commissioners, next item is a motion to ratify approval of the June 22nd, 2022 senior trip to the Fireside Theater. This is to ratify approval of the contract. Is there a motion to approve? Motion to ratify?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second? Been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion? There's no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Commissioners, the next item is a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a proposal for professional engineering services for a lead water service replacement project planning report by and between the village and Burke Engineering. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Nero. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Vogt. Discussion? There's no discussion. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye.
This is resolution R-18-22.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, Commissioners, next item is a resolution authorizing the award of the contract for the 510 Des Plaines Green Parking Lot Project to Chicagoland Paving Contractors, Inc. in the village. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second? Been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Discussion?
Well, maybe I wanted to go last. My thing on this one is probably unchanged from the beginning. I just think. Here, is that better? I just think right now the village probably could appropriate funds for other projects, especially in the light of lead service replacement around town. And that we're going to be happy to figure out how we're going to pay for in one way or another, not to get too deep into that, but there's alley projects and other things that I think that would take precedence over a parking lot that across from the village hall that I think is in pretty good shape as it is. Understanding, and I fully understand the benefits of water retention and being green. I just think the cost outweighs the benefit for the village and its residents in this particular case.
If I
Thank
may.
you, Commissioner Nero. Commissioner Vogt.
Yeah, I hear your concerns. I was actually, if no one had discussion, I was gonna ask the Administrator Amadei to give us a little overview about some of the changes. It turns out that the bids that came back were lower than what they were kind of fearful of. And I think it puts us total about 60,000 over what the sort of pre-pandemic prices were estimated to come in at. I do think it's worth noting that this MWRD grant for about 200,000 goes away if we don't do the lot. It's not that we can repurpose those funds somewhere else. We don't get to spend them somewhere else. They go to that lot, to this project. We can certainly pass on it, but then we do lose that grant monies and we would have to apply again, hoping that we get it again. I also think, given the lower costs and in the administrator's notes and background on this, because it's lower, I believe you added 2 alleys to the infrastructure plan for this year. So we were able to put alleys back in and still keep this lot. And was a great quote I read somewhere that I'll never be able to find it now. But it's basically green infrastructure is a commitment that we make to the future. It shouldn't be an either or. It is going to cost a little more, but we do see those savings back, like we said, in the stormwater mitigation. Right now, everything that hits this lot basically runs off directly into that area is still a combined sewer system. So when those get overtaxed, it can really lead to some ugly situations. And to reduce and slow down any of that on the system is, I think, a pretty great value, especially for folks who want to keep, some of that stormwater hopefully out of that system. And I had one other point. But anyway, so I think considering that the numbers came in a little bit lower than the big scary number, and we can still make that happen and still make that happen with the alleys. I think the value is there in helping to mitigate some of that water runoff. And it also reduces pollution too, because that water isn't immediately rolling into those combined sewers. So it's kind of a double savings there.
Thank you, Commissioner Vogt. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Maxim?
I feel really torn on this issue. I like the idea. I think it's a really great project. I'm just not convinced that now is the time to do it. Especially because the parking lot is fine the way it is right now. And by fine, I mean, it's, you can drive on it, you can park on there, it doesn't need to be redone. Would it be better if we could, if it were green and it would absorb water and we could, get rid, store some of the runoff? Like, yes, of course, that would be great. And that's something I want to see there and throughout town. But money is really tight right now for the village. And I don't know if I can justify spending, already what we were going to spend plus an extra, whatever, $63,000. I am wondering if it's appropriate to ask if our village administrator has any comments on the subject.
So obviously, it's the village council's decision to move forward if you'd like to on this project. What I want to bring up, just so you have the information in front of you, so I don't, I don't, so you don't feel that I did, didn't provide you with all the information with here. One of the items I'm going to talk about later on is some grant that we would like to apply for in the future. So as you know, this year we're receiving money through the Surface Transportation Program through our Regional Council of Mayors for Jackson Street, and that's going to be a resurfacing. So we have a couple of projects, I believe, Circle and maybe another one that's on the reserve list through our Regional Council of Mayors. But I've been advised by our engineer that this is the year where we will have to reapply for those type of monies. Because it's a different funding cycle, there's different criteria in which they're scored on. And one of it, which is if we have a green infrastructure policy. If we have a green infrastructure policy, we are awarded additional points in that grant application. However, just because if we have a green infrastructure policy, that does not mean that we have to do green infrastructure. And I'm bringing this up because one of the themes that's hitting on as part of this discussion is the idea of cost. So I believe, as Commissioner Nero said at the last meeting, to go green, it does cost money. So the policy would say in effect that we would consider improvements as part of a resurfacing program, but it doesn't require us to do them. And so we're in the same conundrum here where the cost of going green, even if we do have a green infrastructure policy in the future, at least we're giving it consideration and whether or not it's financially feasible or practically doable in the future. So that's just something else to keep in mind, that that theme is going to come up in the future with regards to future grant requests. But it comes back to, and I'm not giving you an answer here, this is for the council to deliberate. The cost, there is a cost of going green. It may be appropriate in certain situations. It may not be in others. But what we're dealing with here is the increase of project costs in light of the pandemic that was not, we did not forecast this, pre-2020. So in any event, as our costs went up, I believe as Commissioner Vogt had indicated, about $60,000, give or take, our costs, and that represents the material cost difference increase that has gone up, labor costs have gone up, and the funding percentage of MWRD from 70% to 58%, just on how the math works. So with that said, the bids did come in favorable, better than we anticipated, which is great. But it's up to the council to provide a policy decision if you would like to move forward. Yes.
The actual status of that lot. So it doesn't need to be repaid, it doesn't need to be fixed, there's no issues, it's good to go for
Yeah,
many years.
I'm not aware of any issues. It looks like in great shape. Sale, it's fine. Okay, so I don't have any comments at this time about that lot, that there's concerns or anything. Any other questions?
No, I just have a comments.
Oh.
Well, we've been haggling this thing here for the last couple of months with the different bidding and how much the bids were and what we would lose and what we would gain. So now we're down to a bottom line of adding $63,000 onto the cost, or just deep six in the project and then try to go out and get money from MWRD again in a grant. And following next year, that $63,000 might be $120,000 for that lot over there. If we're going to wait a year to do that, that the price and the cost of construction is going to go up. So what we have to decide here is that lot in a place where they has to be fixed, and we can just say $241,000 is going to go out the door in grant money, or are we going to get it fixed and have a green infrastructure that goes along with the points that might even get us more money later on with other grants that we're looking for. So, I think that's something that the council has to look at, that, if we're going to deep six this thing, then we're going to start back from square one, and it's not going to be very profitable for us if we have to go fix that lot again.
Yeah, may I? I'm sorry, you said you had one more thing.
And the money that the village is responsible for is coming out of the VIP fund.
So the number is 145K, right? That's the number. I mean, the village has done a lot of green alleys all over town, right? Green infrastructure projects, improvement projects. So, I mean, just because this one doesn't go, doesn't mean that we, have other projects that have been completed in town that would help to push, our agenda towards further grant money, should that arise, I would think. Would that be correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question in terms of how this affects our future grant?
Yeah, in
application?
other words, like if this parking lot doesn't go, we still have existing projects that have been done in the past with respect to green infrastructure, such as our alleys, right? So it's not like this is the marquee project for the Village of Forest Park where if this doesn't go, we'll never be allowed to get any grant money to this certain end again, right? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so if we decide to not pursue the project, the grant monies that MWR, first of all, excuse me, it's not a grant, it's a partnership with MWRD. I made that clear before, I'm sorry. The partnership monies that the MWRD have allocated for us will just go back into their general fund. I did speak with them. They did say we will not be penalized because they understand the market situation right now. We will have the option later this year to reapply for this same partnership. And we are able to now use more real-time data on what the construction is, that they'll be able to hopefully fund what they are funding now, which is 70% of construction. But we would have to go back into the application process. It's a competitive process for that same project. If we choose to pursue this partnership in the future.
And you said when you spoke with them that they understood, but that they really did want us to do our best to see this project come
Yeah.
to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one for me, but it sounds like no matter what happens, whether it's today, tomorrow, or next year, it's 70% or less. It's never going to be more. Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough decision. It's just for me, I think it starts and stops with, $145,000 to repair a lot that's otherwise in fairly good condition. It might not be the best use of taxpayer money right now.
Commissioner
tough
Nero,
decision.
you keep saying 145,000. So I'm reading here, the village share cost of the project now amounts to 143,400 for construction plus 35,000 engineering. So is the cost 178,400 or is it 145?
Engineering costs were up front.
No, there's construction engineering. So our cost would be the 178 number up from 115. That's the 60,000 difference. So originally our share was 30% of construction plus construction engineering, which amounted to about 115. Now our share is the 140 number that was quoted plus construction engineering. So we're at 178. 178,400 is our cost.
I suppose the last thing I'll say is, okay, so if we do this with essentially the additional 60, it's 144. It's the main commitment that we'll be seeing is working towards reducing stormwater overflow and stormwater management, which does have a cost benefit on our actual sewer systems. So we do see a cost benefit there. And we see a benefit in reducing that main taxation on the system and hopefully helping to keep that hopefully out of a few basements. It's great to talk about the green infrastructure plan. I hope we do that. We need to do that. And I think we're going to see help for the village if we're incorporating incentives for private investment in green infrastructure. So it's not just us doing it. But the residents do win when we give equal or higher importance to environmental or societal outcomes as well, than just prioritizing economic. I mean, we see some economic benefit without it actually being like a bottom line figure. So I'm still in favor of, mitigating 40,000 gallons of stormwater, I guess is my point.
Moses, what is the deadline for accepting this grant?
It's this year, so that we need to go into construction, right? We have to enter into a contract
Uh-huh. I'm asking commissioners, we were recently invited to submit projects through our congressman's office under what's called the Water Resources Development Act. It's pretty early in the game. We received this invitation on Friday. There's a meeting scheduled for February the 18th to learn more about the project that we can submit. However, the basic piece of information that we do have so far is that the projects can have to do with what's called storm damage reduction, which I think is a pretty broad category, and also flood damage reduction. And in some of the very little we've had to read so far, it talks about how under this biennial funding, the Army Corps of Engineers is authorized to support projects that support efforts to address local environmental infrastructure. So I know that, green infrastructure is important to the entire council. I don't know when we might have an answer if we submit projects under this. But like I said, there's a meeting coming up and I guess later this week on the 18th. I don't know that we have to make a decision on this tonight. It's up to the council. We can take a vote on it. Or if there's an alternative, maybe we could look at potential options under any projects that we could apply or submit under the Water Resources Development Act and take up this project at another time.
I mean, understanding that flooding is a concern in town, I'd be absolutely willing to do that. I was the second, so.
Okay, so who made the original motion? Commissioner Vogt?
Commissioner Vogt.
Do I move the table for the next meeting or a date?
Until we learn more about the.
If you want to continue the matter to a date certain, bring it back under any agenda, but at this point, just make a motion. No,
28th.
it's the 28th.
So the meeting,
sorry,
the
the-
meeting
when you're-
under the Water Resources Development Act is the 18th.
Then to our first meeting in March?
Of March.
Like to move to table this until the March 14th meeting?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been, the motion is to table until the March 14th meeting. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion to table? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Commissioners, next item is a discussion on the draft 2022 infrastructure plan. Moses?
Alrighty, so the updated table that you have in your packet regarding the draft infrastructure improvement project list was updated since the last meeting, especially in light of the bids that came back for the 510 Des Plaines project. Because that freed up some additional monies in the VIP fund, 2 alleys were added to this list. Everyone also received a copy of the village's alley map, alley condition plan. The 2 alleys that are on this list are amongst, I believe it's 4 of them that are in the poorest of condition around town. One is a very short one just south of Madison, and one is just west of Harlem and just north of Roosevelt. So those have been added to the plan, and those were added because we have not done alleys for a few years. So they're due, so we don't get behind. And I need to note that those are the regular concrete alleys, not the green alleys. The green adds about 100,000 in costs. So since we are not, we do not have MWRD grant monies coming to us this year, that's why they're not green noted on this plan. So before we start talking about lead services in the water main, I just wanted to see if there was any questions or comments from the council with regards to this draft. So if there are none, I'm going to continue to talk about the lead services. So earlier this meeting, the council approved a proposal from Burke regarding a plan and a loan application, and I say loan in quotes. It's a forgivable loan of $4 million to go towards lead services. By initiating this now, it's potentially we will have these monies available in 2023 at the earliest. If we wait, then we're looking into the further years further out. But the reason why I bring that up is $4 million is a lot of money, but potentially we have about $20 million worth of lead services to replace around town. It is not known at this point, though it's hoped, especially since this is a mandate. Obviously, it's a well-intentioned, a good mandate, but it's an unfunded mandate. So hopefully in future years, there will be additional monies and grant opportunities, both at the state and federal level, to help us replace the lead services. The tough thing, at least at this juncture, that we're struggling with a little bit is the issue of cost. So when we do receive that loan, that forgivable loan, lead services will be replaced at no cost to the resident. That is in the law. However, if we use local monies such as water fund monies, we do not have to certainly follow that requirement where we can require the end user, the property owner, to pay their costs of what they own from the house or B-box. So I will say, at least for planning purposes, for budgeting purposes, what's reflected in this table reflects the replacement of the lead service lines associated with the project. So we have one water project coming up this year, which is Ferdinand Avenue. And that accounts for the replacement of the lead lines because it's now required. If you touch a water main, all of the lead lines have to go. And there's some blocks in there adjacent to the water main project that would be very strategic to do for economies of scale reasons. However, that brings us up to Jackson. Jackson, we received a grant to repave Jackson from Des Plaines to Madison. Along that stretch, there are 9 lead services that eventually will need replacement within the next 21 years, as the law requires. However, those services are led from the water main to the building. And if they are not replaced this year, that would require at some point the village having to dig into the street to replace those lines. If we replace the line, at least the village's portion to the B-box, that is not allowed anymore. We have to go all the way into the house as part of this replacement job. So the number that I have quoted in here for the replacement of those lines on Jackson, I indicated 125. We have a number that is significantly less than that, which is good news. But at the same time, it kind of forces us in a decision of what to do on who pays what. Now, one of which is, belongs to the village, which obviously we will pay. But at the same time, this is kind of more of a time sensitive thing where we don't need a decision on this tonight. But as this plays out, there isn't a common theme amongst any of our neighbors or within the Chicago region and how they're dealing with this yet. So tentatively, I guess the recommendation is just to kind of stay the course, especially with Ferdinand. Jackson's going to get repaved no matter what. We have to do that this year. But the issue of who pays, is fluid. And there's really, I can't give the council a solid recommendation and comparing us to our neighbors of what everyone's doing. So at least for the time being, it's probably best if we just kind of stay the course, plan on replacing those lines. And if something should change, obviously it will require a policy decision by the council. ARPA monies are available to use for lead service line replacements, but we don't have an unlimited amount of ARPA. Maybe this is something we can just consider for Jackson. I don't know. That would require a council decision later on. I'm not asking you to make a policy decision at this time. But unfortunately, the lead line, there really isn't a clear direction or best solution, especially in light of a lot of the replacements that have done on the private side over the course of the last few years. So that's where we're at. So in the meantime, I'd be happy to answer questions if you have anything about this list. If not, we're just going to kind of continue with what we're. If you don't have any, I'm sorry, let me rephrase it. If you don't have any questions, at least some policy direction of the council saying, you know what, you're on the right track, keep working on this, especially with regards to the alleys or anything else you'd like to bring up this evening.
What are we talking about in terms of costs for private lead line replacement? Like, I have no idea if you're talking about a couple $100, a couple $1,000.
Yeah,
And then also, how many residences do you estimate need to replace the lead lines?
8,300 a pop.
Yeah, it can range, it can range from 3,500, and obviously Sal, correct me if I'm wrong, 3,500 from the B box to the house, to if the water main's on the other side of the street and there's a long distance, to 8,000, 9,000 each.
That we might be asking the residents to pay.
Resident amount, what's fair? On a group rate, about 35.
Per resident.
Yeah, 35. I mean, less than 5 figure for semantics.
And we don't know yet if we're going to ask them to pay that, correct?
Well, we have required that in the past, that
Okay.
from the B box to the house, that belongs to the resident. That is our policy. That's common. But this new law kind of changes things, saying if you're touching a water line, it is the village's responsibility to make sure that the whole thing gets changed.
Got it.
Who pays? There's only a requirement that says if grant funds are used, the homeowner does not have to pay. So we've got an equity issue here, especially with, but the game has changed now. The game's different than this past summer, in light of the adoption of this law. So it's a tough position that we're in, and it's different than what we've been used to over the last few years. Some people are waiting for money in order to do water main projects. I've heard that. Some towns are not going to wait, are going to wait until 2023 until they receive monies to help them do this.
Well, the issue there though is we've already sent out to bid, picked the contractor, or Jackson comes up in June.
Well, Jackson is federal monies that we have to use this year, that we
Okay,
have to
that's what it
pave
is.
this year. So we're doing due diligence on Ferdinand right now. We don't really have to do it, but it's next up. It's an older main that needs replacement. So it's on our this year's list. But I guess in the short term, Jackson kind of brings this issue closer to where we should make some sort of policy decision, at least for maybe Jackson, I guess.
Yeah.
Just because, that's a lot of money that we're receiving to get that paved. And that's a 20-year lifespan for that road. So we're not going to be back for 20 years.
So it's like a precedence. We're setting a precedence with Jackson, which is going to happen this year. So we're looking for direction here quickly.
Yeah, not for tonight for Jackson on how we pay. Okay, so if we use ARPA, for example, ARPA takes care of that fee. And it kind of kicks the can a little bit down the road until we see what our neighbors are doing, especially since after this $4 million forgivable loan, in the future, will there be a different, additional opportunities? Hopefully. Any other questions about any of these jobs? Okay.
Thank you, Moses. Commissioners, next item is a motion approving the wine walk banner request from the Forest Park Chamber. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner Vogt. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been seconded by Commissioner Maxim. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Huskins.
Aye. Moses, you're back up.
All righty, so what's in your packets this evening is a draft public right-of-ways ADA transition plan. So through discussions with our regional council of mayors, it's anticipated that in the near future, any public entity receiving federal funds for its roadways will be required to have an adopted ADA transition plan for its public right-of-way. So this covers our streets, our sidewalks. Any public way does not include public buildings. So after researching different plans of what's in place in our region, a draft plan was composed, essentially memorializing, what we're doing right now, in addition to incorporating, other, practices that are in place in currently adopted plans. So our practice has been, and traditionally has been, that any time that we do a roadway, we do a full analysis of that roadway, of the road, of the sidewalks, of the public right-of-way, to make sure that anything that needs to be adjusted, fixed, corrected, or rebuilt to comply with the ADA, that's taken care of within that road project. In putting together this plan, the plan indicates that we will solicit public comment, especially from those within the disability community. I have done that and received comments. But I am not asking for the council's action on this document tonight because I'd like to put it out for public comment to receive additional feedback, at least 30 days worth. So this plan will soon be a requirement for the receipt of federal funds. And at some point, probably at the end of March, second meeting in March, depending on, if we receive a lot of comments or input that we need to, relook at things. We'll put this before the council for consideration. And then as I stated earlier, the same program where federal monies are received, they're looking at not required, but we will receive extra credit in the consideration process if we have a green infrastructure policy. So in developing some plans that we'd be applying for grants. So we're on the reserve list for Circle Avenue right now, but we have to re-up that through our regional council of mayors. We're looking at Harrison Street, and that's a complete reconstruction, needed water main, public improvements, along both sides of the road, and a reconstruction of the road. It's hard to indicate at this point. Yes, we can consider green elements, such as rain gardens along the right of way, or pavers along the parking areas or corners where we know we have flooding. I just can't promise that in a grant application yet because we don't know the cost in the future. But it's something that if we do adopt a policy saying we're going to at least consider this and take a hard look at it, it's worth doing. You know, we're figuring Harrison Street's about a $6 million project. And unfortunately, without other federal opportunities, but you know, as the mayor talked about today, there might be something at the federal level that does not include sewer work. So green elements may help in a project like this if we're not separating the sewer along Harrison. So that's just kind of a heads up of what's coming. Any questions about the draft ADA plan? And the last thing I want to talk about, I've chatted with Commissioner Vogt about this and along with the mayor. We do have a possible grant opportunity that the council will look to consider at the next meeting that I'm prepping. We've talked for years about allegedly, I haven't been here for years. So about doing a tree inventory of town, especially along our public right of ways. What do we have? What are the conditions of the tree? How do we manage the public trees, not private trees? So we have a grant opportunity before us to do that inventory. It would be turnkey over to our Public Works Department, so they do not have to do anything. The contractor and the organization doing it will be able to provide all the data and put it right into our GIS, ready to go for our Public Works Department to help them plan on maintenance and tree plantings that we'll do for the future, especially as we try to diversify our species to make sure that we plan for native trees. We'll know what we have on a native scale, what's on an invasive scale now. So that opportunity will be presented to the council at the next meeting. There is a requirement. There is a local match to do that. It's about $9,000. We would split it. Our share would be $9,000, but we would have to look at updating our tree ordinance, but only in regards to public trees, not trees that are on private property. So that's something that will be presented at the next meeting for the job to be done, starting in May, June timeframe. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Moses. Commissioner reports, Commissioner Burns.
Yes, I do. Next week, we're going to be mailing out renewal notices for the vehicle stickers. It's going to be a tough time for us because we have some departures in our village hall, and we're in the process of doing interviews with people right now to get hires back in there. As you see, we waived the hiring freeze so we could go ahead and try to get some people in. But in the meantime, we don't have a big staff in Village Hall. So we're asking everybody when they get these notices, please pay these things online. It's so much easier if you pay it online because that all automatically is directed into the proper fund when you mail it in. And if you can't mail it in, we would be asking you to take, if you're bringing in a check with the renewal notice, put it in the depository out, the mailbox outside Village Hall. We'll get them and we'll go through them the next morning and then mail you your vehicle stickers. This is very important because we want to do this efficiently, and we also want to do it where we don't overtax our people that are still here working in Village Hall. The people that are up in there right now are doing a great job with keeping up with everything, and especially with the vehicle stickers now that they'll be coming in and people be buying them, and hopefully they buy them online where we can just eliminate somebody keeping on stopping from what they're doing and walking up to the window every 2 minutes trying to take care of a customer there. So please, when you get these notices, please renew them online or bring your checks in and put them in the night depository so we could take care of it the next morning. And we sure appreciate it, and I'm sure all the folks in Village Hall would appreciate it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Maxim?
I have one short reminder. Next week, the Department of Public Health and Safety is having its last ever zoning board of appeals meeting because it's going to be the meeting to combine the ZBA and the Plan Commission. So assuming that that gets passed, we'll have a new commission that combines the two groups and functions and will streamline everything. So that's Tuesday night. And I encourage everyone to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Macklem. Commissioner Nero?
Yeah, just a quick couple things. Just a quick couple things. We spent a great deal of time talking about infrastructure, green infrastructure, our 2022 infrastructure plan, the projects therein. We talked about lead services, and all that stuff can be a little bit overwhelming. I think as a council, it's important for us moving forward from today to, and I'm speaking for myself, of course, and I'll make it a point to reach out to all of you because I'd really like to see what's important to you from a priority standpoint and a precedent standpoint as we move forward. Now, a lot of these projects are already been vetted and some of them already booked, but I think there's a lot of questions around the lead service that when it comes to payment. And like I said, I keep using that word, the precedents that will set for decisions moving forward are important for this council to get right. So I would like to be able to have candid conversations with all of you individually for sure on that, just to kind of see where you're heading. And I will say this, Traffic and Safety Committee is back to attack. I think we're meeting for the first time in 3 or 4 years next week, which is wonderful. And happy Valentine's Day. End of report.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Nero. Commissioner Vogt.
Happy Valentine's Day. Just a couple quick notes as well. I know I've spoken multiple times already about us working on ensuring the future and health of our fleet and our equipment, but I've also been working towards similar goals for our buildings. And I've met with Director Glinke and Administrator Amidite several times to discuss a facility or buildings needs assessment. And I'm happy to say that that's started. Many of our buildings have been overlooked or some things have been sort of put off over the years. We all know that, our budgets are tight. But that's leaving us with a long list of needed repairs. So this facility assessment, I think, is going to really help us evaluate all of our systems and their conditions and their sort of service life that they have left. It'll give us an objective evaluation of each of these buildings' needs. It'll provide us with better information that will help inform our short and long-term capital plans, like you're talking about priority, Commissioner Nero. And then provide us with essential data to support our departments, village and administrator and council for policy decisions and grant opportunities. So ultimately, it's going to help the village better understand the conditions of every building and aid in prioritizing areas of critical need. I think this is really going to help us in reducing costs when making decisions on improvements and help those decisions be more timely, efficient, and fiscally responsible. So it's long overdue, and I want to thank Director Glinke for overseeing the assessment. And I think it's going to be a really useful tool going into the budgeting process in a few months. And I look forward to discussing those findings upon completion.
Thank you, Commissioner Vogt. Okay, Commissioners, just an update on the cameras that we approved installation of not too long ago. I'm told that they should be up by mid-April, and there may be an opportunity to look at drones as an additional tool for our police department. Last Saturday, we attended the West Central Municipal Conference legislative breakfast. And during the conference, it came up that the city of Chicago was asking for funding for an additional helicopter. Apparently, United States Senator Dick Durbin suggested to the city that they look at drones. Just before we came down here, there was a story on the news about legislation to make drones possible for use for local law enforcement. So even before tonight, I discussed this with Chief Gross, and it turns out that River Forest uses a drone primarily for I think, viewing crash sites, but also to aid in pursuit. In the scenario where you may have someone jumping over backyards and fences and things like that. Sometimes police departments have to break off vehicular chases, out of threat for collision and seriously bodily injury. So they'll abandon auto chases. But with a drone, right, you don't have those concerns. And last thing I'll say is we already have 2 licensed drone operators on the department. So I think in the near future, we may hear more about potential drone use by the Forest Park Police Department. That's all I have for this evening. So having said that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn in the closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C2 to discuss collective bargaining matters. Is there a motion? Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Nero. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Maxim. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Maxim,
Aye.
Commissioner Nero.
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. We will not be returning here. Thank you.